I'm Alan Kenny, Managing Editor with REIT.com, and I'm at the New York Hilton for REIT Week 2012, NAREIT's Investor Forum. Joining me is Jeff Friedman, President, CEO, and Chairman of Associated Estates Realty Corporation. Jeff, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Alan. Nice to be here.
Lots of competition for properties in the multifamily sector. How does that fit in with your company's strategy at the moment?
Growth is important to Associated Estates. Better is better. So we spend a lot of time looking for the right type of product in the right submarket. Part of every presentation and every discussion we have at Associated Estates is that in the apartment business, it's a submarket story. So although there's lots of interest in apartments and potentially lots of transactional activity, when you narrow that down to the submarkets where we have an interest in, there really isn't that much supply. And so it is very competitive for each property. But better is better.
And your company recently made a move into the Southern California market. It's one that you've described as maybe the highest profile move in the company's history. Why now?
The property that we purchased on Wilshire Boulevard on the Miracle Mile in Los Angeles between Beverly Hills and Hancock Park is an exceptional and unique property. It was an off-market transaction. We negotiated directly with the owner of the property and the person who controlled the property. It was not marketed. And the acquisition of this Wilshire Boulevard property was similar to a deal we had recently made in Bethesda, Maryland on Bethesda Row, also an off-market transaction. And so we, in a stealth kind of way, snuck into that market, bought a great property. I talked about it being a high-profile deal because we've talked about our desire to grow in Southern California. And the acquisition of the property on Wilshire Boulevard was the beginning of our setting our stake, so to speak, on the West Coast. But it's a market that takes quite a bit of time to establish a presence. We're patient. We're patient in terms of our investing approach, and we think this is a great way to begin. I talked about it being high profile because it was a bit of a surprise for a small company like Associated Estates with a significant Midwest presence to now expand by going to the West Coast.
You made a stealthy move there into Southern California. I don't want you to give away any secrets, but are there any other kind of niche or smaller markets that you might be looking to get into?
Well, there are. As I said before, it's a submarket story. We recently announced that we are expanding in Raleigh-Durham, and we've acquired one property, a property called the Arboretum, built as a condominium development and converted to rental before any units were sold. The property is across from the SAS International Headquarters. When we identified Raleigh-Durham as a market we wanted to grow in, we began discussions with a number of private owners in those markets, and we announced that we have executed a contract, waived due diligence, subject to the assumption of some debt, in another off-market transaction in the Raleigh-Durham market. So we would expect growing in these off-market transactions to increase for Associated Estates, and that really gives a lot of credit to the team that we have, to the boots we have on the ground in each of these submarkets.
All right, well, thank you very much for your time, Jeff.
Thank you, Alan. Nice to be here.
And for more from REIT Week 2012, check out REIT.com.